Hello everybody and welcome into the FastTrack Sim Racing Cup Series live from the Brickyard. That's right, it's Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and tonight we got a good one on tap for you. Thank you all so much for tuning in. You are watching Austin Green on Ghost Racing Network. Drivers down track side getting ready to get this thing rolling here tonight. One of the crowd jewel events of the season. So with that, let's get right into your starting grid. Jeff Marble, the captain for Team Marble iRacing, takes the pole with a 52.468. Tyler Marble roll off to his outside in second. Ty Iopolito back in third with Scott Glasso in fourth. Quentin Clark, the first of the Riot Motorsports teammates tonight. He will roll off fifth with Jeff Shutt back in sixth. Michael Mueller starts just behind his teammate in seventh. Tracy Powers back in eighth with Jared Bundy for SWM Motorsports in ninth. And Brian Conklin rounding out your top 10. Ryan Haynes, one of the BMP Racing teammates, will start back in 11th with Jacob Musso to his outside in 12th. Moving on back to row number 7, it's going to be Thomas O'Hara and Alan Pajari. Brandon Saylor back in 15th. Rachel Hunt, tonight she will roll off in 16th. Wesser Jr., Brett Spod going to make up row number 9 with Austin Fitzgerald and Danny Gutierrez rounding out your top 20. GT Hawkins will start 21st with Jeffrey Souza in 22nd. Jake Hickson, one of the rookies for Dynamic Autosports, will start 23rd. Kenneth Bartholomew, another rookie, will start to his outside in 24th. Todd Shiro in 25th with Cody Matthews in 26th. Johnny McCulchuk for No Excuses Racing, 27th. Kyle Oakley back in 28th. Andrew Russo will roll off 29th here tonight, and rounding out your top 30 is Bill Benedict. Greg Bartlett in the 77 will start 31st. Glenn Grigsby back in 32nd. The Canadian in the field tonight, Mark Sabak, in 33rd with Matthew Geiringer to his outside in 34th, and he will round out the field here tonight. Taking a look at your race info, weather outside, 75 degrees. 47% humidity, cloudy skies, winds at 2 miles an hour. It is the BMP Brickyard 200 here in the FastTrack Sim Racing Cup Series. 80 laps the distance here tonight. 100% fuel, 4 sets of tires, no fast repairs. Open setups as always, and 3 green-white checkers. Well, even with that cloud cover, track temp still just over 100 degrees, so it's still going to be a little slick here at Indianapolis. A little bit of banking in the corners, and it is an interestingly shaped oval. 3 and 4 aren't like we would see on a normal oval. Instead, there is a little short chute between 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And then you've got the long straightaways down the front and the back where we will see a lot of drafting action. By the way, winds at 4 miles an hour, 2 more than what I initially noted, but still not enough that it should have any impact. The game tonight is going to be, can you find a way to pass? These cars very fast here. A lot of downforce and very easily disturbed by any dirty air. That means if you're behind the leader, going to be hard to set yourself up for a run and even harder to try to make a move. Okay, here we go. Lights are off on the pace car. Can make his way down to the pits for the first time here tonight. We were at the road course quite a few seasons before, but finally the FastTrack Sim Racing Cup Series makes its return to the Indianapolis Oval. We're racing at the Brickyard. And already a little bit of chaos as multiple drivers have to duck out of line, a couple hard on the brakes. Stack it up right off the restart, but I think everybody's going to get through this one okay. Meanwhile, Jeff Marble fires away with the lead. Tyler Marble's going to slip into second. They're going to work their way onto the backstretch for the first time here tonight. Everybody's still a lot of momentum as this pack's still relatively tight. This is where you're going to see runs and passes being made if there is any to be made. Brian Conklin, the 37, thought maybe he had a run to take. Nothing doing there. Looks like Wesser Jr. making his return to the field here tonight. He's going to look for a move here on Thomas O'Hara down into 3. Got to get clear. Looks like the outside, not the place to be, at least not for the 17 right there, as he's going to lose that position. Meanwhile, at the front of the field, Jeff Marble with a comfortable lead here over his teammate in the 48. And notice what Jeff was doing right there. Took a peek. He's slowly drifting down the front. I don't know if we'll see it too much this early on in the race, but another tool, if you will, that these drivers have in their toolbox to use here tonight is to break that draft down the straightaways. Well, how do you do that? Simple. Just drive all the way down as low as you can go, because that means that guys aren't going to be able to just sit there and ride where they want to ride. They're going to have to follow you, chase you down, try to chase that draft around. You can do that back and forth a couple times with how long these straightaways are, but if you just sit in one lane, it can be one of the things that makes you a sit and duck. Tracy Powers under fire now from Brian Conklin and Jared Bundy as well. These two have been kind of trying to work together since the start of this race. Bundy's kind of went with the runs. Oh man, he got really tight there. almost slid up into Tracy Powers through turn 3. And the general idea, of course, is that if you can hold that outside, you'll have some momentum down the straights. But, I mean, so far from what we've seen here tonight, that hasn't really been anybody. A lot of cars struggling on that outside groove, which makes me, again, further want to say that point that passing is going to be so hard to do here tonight, and it's really going to be the difference maker of if you've got a car that can pass, you may have the car that can win this race here tonight. And I said it, it's a crown jewel event. It is one of the one of the BMP sponsored events. BMP, by the way, Bushnell Motorsports Park. One of the teams not only in the series, but also the go-kart track in Bushnell, Florida. Had a chance to go there myself. Not quite a year ago, maybe half a year ago or so, but definitely check them out if you are anywhere near the Bushnell area, because that is a fun go-kart track. Karts go up to 45 miles per hour. They've got a bridge, a couple long straightaways, a bank turn. And tonight, we are seeing already some of the trouble that some of the rookies have been facing. Right there, Brandon Saylor, he got on the outside wall as he clipped it there off before. And you know, you probably note that some of the veterans, especially the longtime veterans, they have been to this track before. It's been a couple seasons, because remember the last 2 or 3 years, or I guess I should say seasons, we've been at the road course. And of course these guys didn't go to the Indy road course, but the point is that's where the schedule was set to be. So they haven't been on the Indianapolis Oval in quite a while. So this is still kind of new for everybody, especially the rookies who haven't maybe ran on here with these guys ever. And so they're still all trying to figure out what can you do, what can't you do. But Jeff Marble still continues to lead the way. The car looks like it is handling good, and I know we've said this before as well throughout the season, but if he can qualify good, you know he's going to have the race pace. It's just about can he indeed get that qualifying pace down. Did a good job with that here tonight. So far things are playing out for him pretty well. I do want to hop on the cockpit view here and pull up the dashboard speeds for Tyler Marble as he'll be sitting in the draft of his teammate here, Jeff Marble. And watch when they get down the straight here. This will give you a great idea of what speeds these guys are running. And then, of course, once we get down to 3 and 4, get an idea of what speeds they're running through the corner as well. So 190 plus, yeah, 192, almost 193 probably on a fresh set with a good draft. Then as they get down into the corners, low 160s through each of these kind of half turns, if you will. Then they go down the short chute back up to just over 170. Down into turn 4, trying to get as much momentum as you can through and out of this corner. But right there, you just get a little bit tight, you lose that momentum, and man, it can kill you down these straightaways. That's where you got to be looking in that mirror. As soon as you make that mistake, look for the run, see if you can't throw a block on it. If you can't, let that guy go, try to slot back in line as soon as possible. That's what you're going to have to do. Because if you start trying to fight too hard on that outside, all you're doing is wearing your stuff out and ultimately costing yourself even more momentum. So pitch strategy is going to be another way. You can try to certainly make up some track position here tonight. Now, granted, when we see that first pit stop, a little bit up on the fence. If I had to guess, I would say these guys could probably go somewhere between 30 and 40 laps. Maybe give or take a couple laps once you get, you know what, we'll go ahead and go a little further. Probably somewhere between 35 to 40 laps. Maybe a couple over 40 if you're saving. Somewhere in that window, though. The point is, this is going to be pretty close on if it's a one stop. Potentially 2. Again, it's only a 200-mile event, not a 400-mile event. Or even a 300-mile event, I guess I should say, as we're used to seeing sometimes. So we'll see what everybody can do, but you are starting to get that front group breaking away a little bit here from everybody else. Jared Bundy on the tail end of this lead pack in that 3 car, just behind the 27 of Jeff Shutt. Shutt pretty close to the draft of Ty Iopolito, and just in front of him, and really all the way up to your leader. Everybody pretty close together, but still evenly spaced enough where there has just not been any runs to be made. And when you've got somebody leading the group that, you know, they don't even have to be perfect, it's just decent, which Jeff Marble is more than just decent right now. I mean, he is on rails, but it's just nothing for anybody else to set up. If Scott Glasgow could get enough of a run on Tyler Marble, maybe he pushes him up to that 15, sets him up for a move, but I mean, right now, that's just not the case. When we go back and look at last week's winner, the 74 of Austin Fitzgerald, because I kind of feel like he's got to be the storyline really coming into every week. Seems like he's always in contention to win, but here tonight, a little bit of a curveball. He qualified back in 19th position. A lot of work to do. He's up 6 spots from where he started this race at, but that 74 car, he's still got, again, a lot of work to be done, and He's still got plenty of time, but, you know, you always got to be thinking in the back of your head, what if this thing goes green? And each lap that goes by, this thing's going to get more and more spaced out. And that's a lot of traffic, a lot of passes he would have to try to make for the amount of laps allotted here tonight. GT Hawkins going to look to the inside now of Tracy Powers. He got a little bit of drafting assist there from Rachel Hunt. Tracy Powers continues to fall back after a great qualifying effort in 8th, as he is now back to 18th, getting ready to fall potentially to 19th here. You see he was able to stay on that outside, kind of held the 5 of GT Hawkins honest on the bottom. And so I saw almost some trouble up front, but I think that was just a couple guys getting side by side here. Jacob Musso, Brian Conklin. Conklin will lose that spot. Now Fajari's going to try to take advantage. Nothing to be done there, so he'll have to slide back in line. Well, maybe he's going to take a second thought at it here. The general idea is try to get your nose a little bit lower, get more clean air into the corner, and then have a chance to get a run on that guy on the exit. That's what Fajari was trying to do right there, but the front group continues to space out more and more as back here the battles continue. Rachel Hunt was not able to follow GT Hawkins around Tracy Powers, so she will have to settle back just behind that 25 machine in 19th. And then Jake Hickson, you saw him giving Kenneth Bartholomew, another one of his fellow rookies, a push down the back stretch. He's able to get him clear. Danny Gutierrez is going to get by the 16. And so Jake Hickson maybe feeling like a little bit of the big loser right there after all the pushing he did. Really nothing to show for it. That's Jeffrey Souza just behind him. And then in the 17 machine, that's Kyle Oakley. Ooh, Oakley might have just tapped the wall right there. And speaking of Oakley, we'll go ahead and go down here and kick off our driver cams here tonight. Kyle Oakley, one of the drivers that we have carrying it on board for us here tonight. And by the way, Kyle Oakley, when it comes to the playoff picture, his hopes are still alive and well. Just still looking to see if he could maybe get that first win at some point before the season's all said and done. Hasn't happened yet, but still plenty of time to try to make something happen. And by the way, only 11 of 80 laps complete here tonight, but no lead changes up to this point. Not too often you hear us say that. That's what it's been so far. Now flipping positions from where Kyle Oakley stands, the opposite end of the spectrum, that's your leader, Jeff Marble in the 15 car. Right now he continues to put down great effort as he's got Team Marble iRacing running 1-2 with a teammate just behind him. But Tyler Marble so far has not been able to find a way to track him down. At least not at the moment. And, well, hold that thought. Caution is out for the first time here tonight. As trouble down the backstretch, it looks like here. We got one in the grass. Todd Shiro is, it's just him trying to take evasive maneuvers. And trying to figure out exactly who it was that had trouble. May have been the 90 of Bill Benedict. I see a little bit of damage on the right front of Glenn Grigsby. Looks like he may have had some contact with the outside wall. So we'll have to look at exactly what happened here in just a moment, but trying to figure out if we're going to get any data on anybody else that may have been involved. Like I said, from what it looked like, potentially Bill Benedict as well, but it could have maybe not even been either of these two here. Let's just see. So this is coming through turn number 2. And I think, are these two just going to come up on the incident? At that point, Glenn Grigsby had already slowed down. You see the smoke in the background there. Is this somebody spun, which looked like that's exactly what happened right there. Question is, who was it? Oh, further back. Oh, it's the 72 of Johnny McCulchuk. Or excuse me. And actually, go all the way back. And I believe, by the way, last week, I know I was corrected on how to pronounce the last name. I believe it was Johnny Michalchuk. So I apologize if I got it slightly wrong again, and you're watching here tonight. Please do correct me. But going back to how this actual wreck started here, we'll go to the blimp cam first. You see Johnny racing side by side there with the 88 of Andrew Russo, and just slight contact sends that 72 around. Does a 360, but actually straightens it out, saves it. Nicely done. That keeps Johnny rolling straight, and that's part of the reason everybody else was able to miss it, is they didn't have to worry about dodging a moving target because he got back in a straight line pretty quick. Here's another angle of it. Russo's he's just too deep in there. You can see that car's already sliding up the racetrack, and this track's barely wide enough for 2 cars going through the turn either way, just with how tight the racing groove is. And so if you're going to do it, you got to be perfect. And in that case, just looked like Russo may have been getting a little tight. Started sliding up into Michalczuk, but let's watch this from the cockpit view and play at full speed. Yeah, he's loose. He's loose. He's trying to catch it, and I think once he does catch it, that slight drift up the racetrack as a result of that is what ultimately leads to that contact between him and the 72. There's the initial spin around for Johnny, but again, no harm, no foul as he was able to get back rolling there. Give you a couple more angles of this one here. This is from TV3. And boy, right there, lucky that they didn't go into the outside wall. But then again, usually when you get turned around here, it's like Pocono where there's just not a lot of places to run. There's a little bit of grass runoff down the backstretch, but that's about it. And then it's concrete, or rather safer barrier, I guess I should say. But the point is, you do not often go for a slide here or even bring out the caution for that matter without getting some sort of damage. So Johnny Michalczuk very, very lucky to escape that one unscathed. And so now we turn our attention back to the front of the field where Danny Gutierrez is now being scored as your leader. Matthew Gearinger second. Wester Jr. back in third. Austin Fitzgerald in fourth. And then you've got Michael Mueller currently rounding out your top 5. And by the way, the reason that this track position, if you will, has kind of got flipped around is we had different strategies. This is what the pit lanes looked like here once they opened up, and watch who comes in, watch who takes what here. As there goes Jeff leading everybody down. Danny Gutierrez, Matthew Gearinger, a couple others further back, decided to stay out. Now, that seems like a really, really interesting decision to say the least here. As yeah, there was a couple of them that chose to stay out. I don't know how well this is going to work out. We'll have to see. But then you look at a guy like Austin Fitzgerald and you say, okay, well, how did he gain track position then from where he stood? Well, we're getting ready to find out here. If we watch it from the blimp cam, 74, does he only take 2 tires here? Looks like he's got the right side propped up. They drop it down, and there he goes. So looks like 2 tires was the call for Austin Fitzgerald. And the reason that not only him, but a lot of these other drivers, I think, are playing kind of that bold strategy of taking 2 tires at a track that really eats up tires is because track position is just so important right now. We continue to see that there's really not been much passing until you get really, really far back in the pack where the speed differences and setups and cars start to become a little bit more eminent. But at the front where everybody's, you know, I would say semi-similar in terms of speed, there has not really been much, if any, passing. But that could change now. We've got some new leaders up here and some different tire strategies to go along with it. I know Jeff Marble right now is maybe a little eager because he knows that he's got a really fast car, but he's probably a little bit worried right now by being slightly more buried than, of course, he was when he's leading the race, about potentially getting caught up in a restart wreck here, which seemed to be common, at least from what we saw in the real-life race on Sunday. Before we do go back to green, a couple other driver cams we can take a view at. Jeff Shutt, one of them, driving the 27 Capital Auto Group paint scheme here tonight. It's one of the No Excuses Racing drivers. And then if we actually go to Jared Bundy, who sits just behind him, another one of our drivers that's carrying an onboard view for us here tonight. A couple others that are still looking to see if they can potentially grab another win this season. You look at Tyler Marble in that 48 car. He's looking to find victory lane for not the first time, but certainly one more time at least before we get to the playoffs. And so, see what happens there as he gets ready for the green flag, and so do we. Pace car down in the pits, back into the Geico restart zone we go. And the engines will refire. Green flag is back in the air at Indianapolis. Good restart for Danny Gutierrez, but he's going to get matched by Matthew Gearinger. They'll stay side by side down into turn number 1. This is where everybody's trying to mind their P's and Q's, but you've also got to stay aggressive here, looking for track position. Matthew Gearinger fading a little bit on the outside. Gutierrez gets clear. Wester Jr. going to do the same. Oh, man, they almost pinched each other towards the middle portions of the pack. I saw 3 wide for a minute, but quickly got back down to 2 by 2. The short chutes, not necessarily an area where we see too many passes, although Wester Jr. is going to try to clear one right here, but it's certainly an area where you can set up different guys for passes. And so now as they come down the front stretch to complete the first lap under this restart, it's still a mad scramble. I mean, they have not got this thing sorted out just yet. But one thing that has been sorted out is the leader, and it is Wes Hurd Jr. in the 12 car. Remember, for Wes, he already found victory lane earlier on in the season, which would have got him locked into the playoffs, but due to a little bit of a lack of making some of these races, he's not technically locked in yet. He's got to finish a certain spot in points before that win will actually lock him in. So for Wes Hurd Jr., this race means a lot more than just out here having fun. Even with that win in his back pocket, he's still going to have to fight for whatever points he can get here tonight. Tyler Marble looking to see if he can maybe sneak to the inside here of Austin Fitzgerald, but it's the 74 now who's going to actually put a nose to the outside of Wes Hurd Jr. Austin Fitzgerald puts the loud pedal down, and he will clear him off of turn 4. Tyler Marble's trying to follow, but he has the disadvantage now of no drafting help as Fitzgerald stays up top. That pulls Wes Hurd Jr. back clear of the 48. Wow, what a move by Austin Fitzgerald. Well, I may have said no passing, but that was certainly one heck of a pass right there, and it all stemmed from the 12 getting a little bit loose as he got off of turn 3, and then that short shoot, I said it, not necessarily an area where we see many passes, but certainly an area where you can set up one. That's exactly what Fitzgerald did, worked out to a T, and he was able to get himself another spot, and ultimately now the lead in this race, as we see one of the veterans and rookies going at it. Kenneth Bartholomew here versus the 37 of Brian Conklin. Conklin with a great car, not only last week, but a couple weeks prior, and things have just, again, still not worked out for that 37 the way they should have, and he's still searching for victory lane tonight. He's had a pretty decent car, at least out of the gate he did. Remember, qualified in the top 10, but right now he's running just inside the top 20, so again, still has some work cut out for him, but if he was able to qualify as good as he did, then I'm sure he's going to have the speed to get back up there. Just a matter of how he's going to do it. Up front, battle for the lead is on. Oh, wrecking out back. 2 around. Caution is out. One of them was Brett Spott. It looked like the 35. Does he save it? I think he saved it. Must have been Ryan Haynes then. Or was it Brett Spott here? Couldn't exactly tell. The 35's back straight, but unless they all saved it somehow, but I thought for sure I saw at least 2 of them going around. I know one of them was one of the BMP Racing teammates, and kind of assumed that it was Brett Spott in the 35. And he's got a little bit of left front damage. Wonder if it's from some sort of contact that led to that near spin. Well, let's go back and see here. Again, second yellow of the night. Only 19 of 80 laps complete here. And watch, this is coming through turn 2. So Brett Spott gets him back to 5. GT Hawkins gets a little tight, and actually want to back that up a little bit more. Brett Spott gets a great run here down the short chute, and then gets an even better run on entry here to 3. Maybe, I don't know. It's hard for me to tell there if he got in just a little bit too deep, or if that checkup was because he thought he was going to hit the 5 of GT Hawkins. But either way, once that nose starts to wash up the racetrack, you see a little bobble right here as he's just trying to make sure he catches it, which he does. But the problem now is Jacob Musso's got to run. He's going to try to take it to the inside. Spot, I think he was a little loose here. It initially looked like maybe he was trying to cover, but I think he might have been trying to save the car still. Watch from the cockpit view. Yeah, that's what it was. He wasn't worried about trying to cover that move. He was just loose, trying to turn that car back down the racetrack, and when he went to do so, it just starts to snap out from under him, rather, and Jacob Musso, I mean, nothing he can do. He's got nowhere to go. Tags Brett Spott in the left front, and actually that's what saved Brett Spott, and surprised that he didn't go back up into the field with that contact, but yet again, another pretty good save that leads to relatively minimized damage for all parties involved. And so Brett Spott will be able to walk away unscathed, maybe with a couple seconds of damage or so, as will Jacob Musso, as long as he didn't break any suspension in that left front for Brett Spott, that is. It's not a super hard hit, but in these next gens, the toe links and a couple other suspension components, they're really, really sensitive, so you got to be careful with really any contact for that matter. And you can see in the background that 35 going for a slide before it has what is arguably the save of the day. So nicely done there for Brett Spott. All right, well, we are officially 25% of the way through this race, 20 of 80 complete. It is Tyler Marble being scored as your leader, Austin Fitzgerald second, Wesser Jr. in third, Scott Glasso fourth, and Jeff Marble currently rounding out your top 5. All right, we're going to go ahead and take our first break of the night. We'll go side by side so you don't miss a thing. Stay with us. We'll be right back at the Brickyard. Welcome back to the Brickyard, where the FastTrack Sim Racing Cup Series makes their stop here tonight for one of the crown jewel events as we continue to wind down the regular season and get closer to the playoffs. It's the BMP Brickyard 200 here tonight. And so right now, Tyler Marble leads the way. Fitzgerald second, Glasso third, Wesser Jr. fourth, Michael Mueller fifth. And then can't forget about Jeff Marble in sixth, who, at least out of the gate, looked like had the fastest car. But with as tough as passing has been, I think that could certainly change around. And honestly, if it's down to 2 guys that are even close in terms of speed, it's going to go to whoever's got the cleaner air. So right now, I look for Tyler Marble to have a huge advantage right here. But we'll see how hard Austin Fitzgerald's willing to race him. And when we go green right here, it's going to be 22 laps complete. So still just under 20 away from halfway. And then once we get to that point, see a pit stop. Maybe we should still be on track to see at least 1 green flag stop. Actually, I should say only 1 green flag stop. Don't think obviously there's any possibility of needing to go in twice at this point, unless you can only make 30. But if it's somewhere between 35 and 40, should be good to go. All right, green flag is back in the air at Indy, and it's a good restart from Tyler Marble, the outside. Now, at least Austin Fitzgerald got going. Problem was nobody else behind him did, so he had no push going down the front stretch into turn number 1. That allows Tyler Marble to get clear. Wesser Jr. is going to try to do the same, but he got a little bit loose and is not going to be able to follow. As they work on to the back straightaway here. Let's see who ducks out of line. Does anybody look 3 wide further back? Ooh, Tyler Marble snaking down the backstretch. First time we've seen it here tonight, but we talked about it, trying to break that draft. That's one of those things as a driver that maybe doesn't mean a lot, at least not in the short run, but in the long run, if you keep doing that, that's one of those things where it's the little things that you can do that can make a big difference later on. And for Tyler Marble, if he keeps doing that and they keep battling out back, eventually he is going to break away. And if nobody behind him has draft, that's all he's going to need. But right now, the 48, content to stay close to the outside wall, that time down the front straightaway. to right on the nose board here for Austin Fitzgerald, or excuse me, the nose cam. And so what's interesting too about Indy, especially in these short shoots, is when, well, actually on the straightaways too, but when you come off the turn right here, you'll notice there's safer barrier and then it goes to concrete, and there is a transition there from that safer barrier to the concrete. You can kind of see it there in the background towards the back of the field, but that plays havoc on drivers because, you know, the line is so precise in terms of what you're pushing is that you're going to make, you know, you're going to slide right up just close enough to that outside wall not to hit it right as you get to that concrete transition. But if you slide up a little bit too soon, that safer barrier sticks out probably about at least another foot or so. And so that's when you can get into the wall. And a lot of times if you get into the wall and exit here, it has the tendency to bounce off, and there's traffic nearby. We could certainly understand how that would not end too well. So everybody trying to mind their P's and Q's in terms of how they run their lines here, but certainly got to run aggressive. And notice that grass and almost kind of that rumble strip down on the bottom just below that white line. Well, that's the apron, but again, no technical track limits here, so you can run on that apron, which is what everybody does. Dip 2 tires just below it. That's how you get the most turn out of the car, and if you can be the first one down there, that's also how you can get a little bit more clean air on the nose than everybody else that's in front of you. And so I think that's exactly what we see Michael Mueller trying to do right here. See if it pays off for him here down the front stretch. He's got a pretty good run, but nothing doing, so he'll stay tucked behind Jared Bundy. Meanwhile, Tyler Marble continues to try to work on snaking that draft down the straightaway as you see everybody else follows. But he just looks so smooth right now. And, you know, we haven't gotten into long enough of a run yet to see how everybody's cars handle on these long runs and kind of to see the general trend on, does everybody get tight or does everybody kind of get loose? I think from what I would generally expect, it just depends on how you drive. If you're driving, you know, really shallow entries into the corner, you'd almost think you get tight. But if you're driving these big arcs trying to get on the throttle early, you almost think the back end would start to get a little bit loose first, which is what we see Tyler Marble kind of doing there as his race line. And it seemed like the back end was rotating a little bit more than the front, so that might give you a bit of a clue as well as he slides off of turn number 4. Still with a very comfortable lead as he continues to try to go to work at snaking around that draft down these straightaways. I think Fitzgerald decided to stop kind of chasing the cat and mouse game that was being played right there between the 48 and the 74 and says, listen, I've got a couple cars lined up behind me. If you want to move around and scrub off some speed down the straightaway, you go ahead. I'm not going to follow anymore. We'll see how that pans out. Tyler Marble is probably happy to see that because every 10th of a second that he gains gets him further and further away from those guys having his draft, and the harder it becomes for them to start to catch back up. But he's got to get to probably somewhere between a second and a half before he'll completely have broken away from that draft. And I don't know if he's too close to that point just yet, but Jeff Marble did make up a few positions, and it's going to make up another one right here as he gets to the inside of Glasso. Ooh, drifts up a little bit, trying to get the hammer down as Fitzgerald dropping low to follow the draft of Tyler Marble. That actually helped Jeff out right there. He's trying to stay on the quarter panel. He just wants to stay even into turn 1 here, which not quite able to do it. He's going to bail out a little bit here. He'll have to reset up and try to regroup before he looks at another attempt at passing Scott Glasso. And he knows he needs to get around soon because Fitzgerald, I think that the 15's got more speed than that 74, but more importantly, that 48, he continues to slowly but surely pull away. And if that 15 gets trapped too far back, it may just be kind of an uphill battle the rest of this race with trying to catch him if we don't see another yellow flag. Now, granted, we still are going to have 50 laps to go. Actually, right now, coming to 53 to go. But still, point is, for Jeff Marble, he's got a bit fresher tires than these guys. He really needs to take advantage here. And he's been trying to, and now will he look to the inside with Scott Glasso? Yes, he does. Will there be any consideration of a 3-wide move if the run presents itself? No, there won't. He's going to stay tucked behind Fitzgerald. Now he's going to look to the inside here as he'll continue to stay behind Glasso. Fitzgerald loses that spot to the 4 car, and now Jeff Marble is going to try to take that position as well. Got to get clear off the 2. Looks like he doesn't quite do it. Oh, man, that's a tough break because Glasso was able to sneak around, but the 15 wasn't. And now that draft train on the top is going to march right back by the 15. I think Jeff's going to start to get a little bit frustrated here pretty soon. He's thinking to himself, man, I've got a faster car than these guys, but I just cannot get around. It's the nature here of what we're seeing, at least so far tonight at Indianapolis. So he'll continue to do what he can do. As you've got further back in the field, not much, kind of more of the same. Quentin Clark is in a little bit of a battle right now. Battle for 6th as he looks to the inside of Jared Bundy. Or excuse me, that was the battle for 7th. Getting ready to be the battle for 6 here. If he can get 2 birds with 1 stone, as they'll try to get to the inside of Westford Jr., but he's not going to be able to do it that time. So there are a couple different guys moving through the field right now that continue to try to see if they can get up there and challenge your leader, Tyler Marble, who still currently sits half a second ahead of 2nd place, which has now been taken over by Scott Glasso. Was Austin Fitzgerald about 5 laps or so ago. And if you're Scott Glasso here, what are you doing? Are you pushing the issue, or are you trying to save some tire? I know he was trying to get around Austin Fitzgerald there for a little while, but now that he's done so, does that maybe change the mindset up a little bit? The 15 of Jeff Marble, got to feel like he's in a similar boat here in terms of got to find a way to get around that 4. But right now he is not able to gain any time, as he sits actually about a half a second behind Scott Glasso and closer to a second behind your leader, Tyler Marble. And I mentioned that if they can only make 30 laps or so, they would have to make one more pit stop. But if they can go as far as 35 to 45 laps, then you wouldn't expect that final pit stop till somewhere around lap 55 to lap 60 or so. And you come in, top off on fuel, take tires. Maybe we see some strategy play of certain guys taking 2 versus 4 tires, but I don't know. This is why they switch strategies up now, to have an idea of what they would want to go with for the end. And right now, whatever strategy Tyler Marble's been on, I think it's the one most of the field would like to try. But the 4 of Scott Glasso has now arrived on scene, and he is heating up the back bumper of this 48 machine. And where Scott Glasso still has not found a win on the season yet, he would love to get one. Lock himself into that playoff picture without any further question. And now we're going to hop on the onboard view here, actually, for Scott Glasso, as we'll watch him try to track down the 48 of Tyler Marble. You see Tyler trying to, again, break that draft there a little bit down the back straightaway, but Scott Glasso says, you're not going anywhere. And what I think is kind of interesting here is actually the gearing, at least for Scott Glasso, the fact that the way he set that car up, it does not need to get to 5th gear. In fact, it actually maxes out in 4th gear, even when he's reaching, 190 miles an hour or so. So that's definitely a little bit on the interesting end of the spectrum. Well, for sure, these guys would have to be shifting up to 5th, and maybe some of them are. If we look at Tyler Marble here, well, he's not either. As, trouble further back here, and caution is out. Trouble for the 77 of Greg Bartlett and Todd Shiro in the 6. Brings out your 3rd caution of the night with 32 of 80 laps complete. Yeah, that 6 is pretty beat up. Looks like the right front suspension is destroyed. He's got no front end, and so 77, Greg Bartlett thought maybe he'd be able to continue, but it looks like he's also taken it to the pits, and we know the 6 of Shiro definitely not going to be in a very good position to continue with that amount of damage at a track that's as aero-dependent as this one is. So what happens here? Scott Glasso and, excuse me, not Scott Glasso, Todd Shiro and Andrew Russo get together here. See Russo on the bottom here, as Glasso's running kind of that, excuse me, I keep saying Glasso because I'm seeing the orange and black, but Todd Shiro, rather, is running the top lane, and the 88 starts to get up behind him. No harm, no foul here. Yeah, it looks like Todd Shiro just gets loose, and now he's trying to save it, but overcorrects, tags the 77. That's a pretty hard shot, and then gets into that outside retaining wall and finishes that car off. I think those two were the only ones involved, but I mean, poor Greg Bartlett here, he had nowhere to go, nothing he could even do. It all happened so quick, and in Todd Shiro's defense here, I think he just gets loose. Yep. As they get into that short chute, just gets loose. Then old tires, a lot of horsepower, don't go together too well as he overcorrects, and the car spins back onto the racing surface. And then this was the onboard shot for Greg Bartlett, who he said had nowhere to go in this one. He sees it. He's trying to shoot by the gap on the outside, and man, he almost made it, but Just unfortunately not quite. And I want to look at just a couple more angles of this here, especially for Todd Shiro. I mean, to get that loose in that area was certainly interesting, especially with no contact. And, you know, I know sometimes if the car behind you gets a little close, especially right behind you, it can loosen up the rear end, but I didn't feel like that was the case. I genuinely think Shiro just got really, really loose and just kind of lost it. Now, granted, I'm sure Greg Bartlett doesn't really care. He doesn't want to hear that. He's upset that now his race is potentially over. But that was heavy, heavy damage for the 6 machine of Todd Shiro. Look at one more angle of this here from the TV spectator view. And right here, well, I'll tell you what, if that would have happened in the middle or front of the field, that would have been absolutely disastrous. So I guess if there's any positives to pull out of it, at least it was further towards the back and it only collected 2 instead of what could have potentially been the big one here tonight. But 34 of 80 laps complete. Taio Polito is out leading the way. Tyler Marble in second, Jeff Marble third. We've got Scott Glasser in fourth, Michael Mueller fifth, and Austin Fitzgerald back in sixth. Lights on the pace car still on, expected to go probably about one more lap. So with that, we're going to go ahead and take our next break here tonight. Stick with us. We'll be back for the restart here at Indianapolis. Welcome back to the BMP Brickyard 200 here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Getting ready to go back green as we continue to approach the halfway mark here in tonight's race. If you're just tuning in or you've been tuning in, we certainly appreciate you being here. Donna Kay earlier on said hello race fans. Hey Donna, hope you're having a good night. Glad to see you out here watching. And we still have a couple things we got to talk about. Schedule, rookie standings, point standings, and a couple other things. But right now we're getting ready to get back to the restart, and fuel strategy starts to become a little bit more interesting now because this is going to be 45 laps to go. I said 35 to 40. I don't know how far these guys can stretch it, but who knows? Maybe if you start saving here. But the other scenario, of course, would be if we get a caution 5-10 laps from now, everybody's going to be good to go. So we'll see how things pan out, but I have a feeling this restart is going to be the most aggressive one we have seen all night. Green flag is back in the air. 36 laps complete at Indy. Good restart from Tyler Marble, but Taio Polito has the advantage on the inside if he can hold it here. Ooh, the 19 washed up a little bit, even got a little bit free actually, but he was able to hold on, stay next to Tyler Marble. What can he do down the backstretch right here? Side by side, Tai Ippolito ducks extra low. He needs to stay up a little bit, get as much drafting, arrow push, if you will, from that 15 of Jeff Marble as he can. Tyler hoping to get clear here into 3. Nope, not quite. Just about had it off the push from Scott Glasso, but not quite enough. Kenneth Bartholomew a little bit up the racetrack. Up front, the 2 leaders continue to be side by side. Scott Glasso has a choice here. Question's going to be, who does he go with? The 4 on the outside. Does he drop low to push the 19? He's trying to kind of keep them both even, I think, here. Boy, I think that was exactly what he was trying to do, and that's a good choice because the longer these 2 stay side by side, better it helps the 4 car. And here we go. Scott Glasso's ready to pounce. Almost looked 3 wide there for just a moment, but he's going to quickly tuck back behind the 48 of Tyler Marble. Watch as they work their way onto the back down. I think this 48's finally got enough momentum to get clear. Yes, he does. Tyler Marble will go to the lead now, and he is going to get to work on breaking this draft. Looks like Scott Glasso follows to the inside now. He's side by side with Tai Ippolito. He'll get clear, and just as quickly as Tyler Marble was able to get out in front, he is going to lose that lead to Scott Glasso. What a move from the 4 car, who's got phenomenal speed right now. This may be the best car that Scott Glasso has had all season. Scott going to try to see if he can pull off one of the greatest wins that you can get, not only in a season, but as a driver, a crown jewel win, especially at a place like Indianapolis Motor Speedway. The greatest race in IndyCar goes to this track, along with, of course, the crown jewel that the NASCARs head here for. And so if you're Scott Glasso now, what do you do as fast as he is? Does he try to save some tire and utilize that clean air? Or does he try to maybe utilize that clean air in a different way to pull as big of a gap as he can get right now? I don't know, but either way, man, what a move. What a sequence of moves from Scott Glasso to get around Tyler Marble, who now, as he gets caught back in that dirty air, you wonder if he's going to start to struggle. Ooh, oh, Mueller with some trouble. He gets into the wall there. I think there might have been some slight contact between him and Danny Gutierrez. Quentin Clark allows his teammate to catch it. But now that's going to make things a little bit awkward down the front stretch here. Quentin Clark either has to push or split, and looks like he's going to go with push. Alan Bajari looking for a move to the inside here of Danny Gutierrez. Gutierrez looking for a block. Is he going to get it? No, he's not. That leaves the lane open. Alan Bajari trying to take advantage, but Gutierrez able to hold on the outside. Down through turn number 2, Westherd Jr. and Quentin Clark also side by side just behind these 2. And when they stay side by side like that, that allows anybody behind them to get a big run. Westherd Jr.'s got a big run, but he's got nowhere to take it here to turn 3. So he'll go ahead and let off a little early, try to get that nose just below the 34 so he gets some clean air. They'll both get clear of the 08, but the 12 not quite able to set up a move on the 34. The double zero looking to the inside of Gutierrez as well. As they work their way off of turn 4, looks like they're just about going to get it sorted out, as Quentin Clark, though, still remains side by side, at least for now. Glenn Grigsby further back, you see he's still side by side. By the way, Todd Shiro, with all that damage, has still remained out. Looks like the suspension has been fixed enough, but that car is certainly not very aerodynamic, as right now he sits in 31st. The first car a lap down, Mark Sabak, Rachel Hunt. Also drivers not on the lead lap. In fact, Mark Sabak is currently 5 laps down, and then Rachel Hunt and Greg Bartlett. Not sure what happened to Rachel, but Greg, we saw him involved in an incident. They are both being scored off track for the moment, so they may have decided to call it a night. Scott Glasso with a little bit of a wiggle there, but I mean, that car is turning about as good as you could ask, at least right now. You know, you hope for his sake that this isn't just a short run car, because I mean, the speed is great right now, but you see him stalling that wheel back to the right on exit. That's certainly a sign of that back end moving around, so that car is definitely a little bit on the free end, and sometimes, as good as that is to have in the short run, it can certainly be detrimental in the long run if those back tires get too worn out. So Tyler Marble going to continue to stay disciplined right here, and I think he's starting to slowly but surely reel back in this 4 car, as right there, Glasso just did not make the corner he needed to. Tyler did. And he'll get some draft on the straightaway here, but now Glasso going to use a little bit of the 48's tricks on himself, as he'll break the draft on the back stretch, and that kind of keeps Tyler Marble at bay from gaining any more time. The 15 of Jeff Marble now back in the podium position after leading every lap from the first green flag lap to the first caution that we had of the night. And since then, it's not that the speed hasn't been there, it's just the track has just been so tough to get. And yeah, I saw that move, or rather, that slip-up, we'll say, from Scott Glasso. Coming off of 4, barely scraped the wall. He's got a little bit of damage there on the right front, but this is where he's got to be careful again. He's holding on to that lead, but if he pushes this car too hard, it's really going to hurt him in the long run here, especially when he's got 2 hungry teammates of Team Marvel iRacing behind him. And you know those two will work together to get around here as Glasso, again, just getting a little bit too high on exit, I would say. I don't know if that's a result of just missing the apex of the corner, or at least not getting all the way to the bottom or what, but he's going to have to make some sort of adjustment here. And there you go. That was a lot better through 3 that time. Tyler still a little bit quicker, but you could see that Glasso was able to get all the way down to the apex and able to have a nice, pretty clean wash up and carry decent momentum down the short chute. He'll do the same through 4, and that good momentum is going to continue here down the front stretch. So 43 of 80 laps complete again. We are officially over the halfway point in this race, and I believe now we are in that final fuel window. Now, in terms of if these guys can make it all the way to the finish with what they've got in the tank now, it's close. Not sure. I think I'd lead towards the side of probably not right now, but again, it is relatively close. If we get another caution, however, from this point on, then yes, it will turn into pretty much a definite that these guys are all going to be good to go on fuel. Now, while the action continues on track, it is pretty single file, so this gives us a good chance to go talk about what points are looking like as we continue. I know I said it a couple times earlier, but as we continue to get closer and closer to the start of the playoffs, and it's Austin Fitzgerald, no surprise there, who currently leads in points. 7 wins on the season. Was looking for number 8 here tonight, but just the speed is not there, at least not right now. Quentin Clark sitting second in that points race. Jeff Marble in third. If he could win here tonight, that would certainly have a potentially bump him up to second. And then you've got Jake Hickson back in fourth, Ty Polito in fifth, Michael Mueller in sixth, Tyler Marble seventh, and Jared Bundy in eighth. And that rounds out the drivers that are currently locked into the playoffs with a win. And that's already half of, the first round of the playoffs being around the 16, 8, that's already half of those spots gone. And so that makes it a lot tougher for these other drivers. That makes you really want to get that win so that you can get in without having to worry about trying to point your way in. But Wesser Jr., who sits in ninth, in theory he would be in. Problem is he's not technically locked in because he hasn't ran enough races to accumulate enough points yet. So if he can get the amount of points he needs, he'll be locked in with that win. And then you've got Scott Glasso, Jeff Shutt, Thomas O'Hara, Kyle Oakley, Kenneth Bartholomew, Brian Conklin, and Johnny Mahalchuk, who are all currently in the playoff picture, but by no means are they locked in. It's just as of right now, they are in on points. And if you look at a guy like Scott Glasso tonight, boy, he's just about at that point of locking himself in. We'll see if he can potentially find a way to do it. And then you look at a guy like Johnny Mahalchuk, who's down there kind of towards that cut line. And there's going to be guys that are just below that cut line trying to pounce, so he's going to be looking to keep the consistency up over the course of the next couple of weeks. And by the way, Johnny Mahalchuk right now sits back in that 29th position. Got involved in a wreck earlier. Didn't get much damage, but certainly struggling a little bit right now. And then another quick note I want to make on Austin Fitzgerald was, if you remember last week to the interviews after the race, he said that his confidence for Indy wasn't necessarily that high, at least in the way of he wasn't that confident for Pocono. Didn't feel like that was one of his best tracks, but he had a ton of speed there and it worked out, so kind of had the same optimistic approach or attitude, whatever you want to call it, this week. And I mean, it's not bad speed for the 74. I think it's just the bar has been set so high for him at this point, with 7 wins on the season up to this point, that there's not a race you expect these guys to show up to now, and that 74 not have a chance to win it. But right now, as it stands tonight, he's going to need a caution and some strategy flip or something, because so far the raw speed for the 74 has just not quite been there. Battle for the lead up front continues, but still no actual side-by-side yet. Tyler Marble continues to kind of hone in on him, and I think he's trying to kind of fill his mirror up, see if he can't get him to make a mistake, but it's not been the case yet. Scott Glasso continues to stay disciplined enough, and I mean, hey, even if you're going to lose the lead, you want to try to hold on to it as long as possible, because let's just say these guys are expecting another pit stop. The longer he holds this lead, the less Tyler Marble can pull away. But just as I say that, Tyler set up a great run through turn 1, got him in a short chute, which was an area that I said we don't normally see passes, but boy, he made one work right there. And now we're going to see a little bit of snake draft down the backstretch as the teammates are trying to work together here to switch that 4 in the 15 around. See if they can do it. And now, how does Scott Glasso respond? I don't know if he'll have enough to get back around, but does he have enough to at least hang close to the 48 here? So we talked about what the playoff picture was looking like coming up, but I do want to talk about what the rookie point standings are looking like. Right now, your top 5 rookies. Tai Iopolito leads that rookie battle. Quentin Clark second, and they are currently separated by about 30 points. And you've got Michael Mueller back third in the battle, Kenneth Bartholomew fourth, and then Mark Zabak in fifth. And those top 3, let me tell you, they are all relatively close to each other, all have a chance. Fourth and fifth, Kenneth Bartholomew and Mark Zabak certainly still have some work to do. Now, looking at the schedule ahead, next week is going to indeed be a bye week for the Olympics. So we will not be here next week. Weekend after that, Chicagoland, but I thought I remembered that ended up being a switch-out week. So let's say hold up on that. I'm not sure yet if we will actually be racing on August 5th or not yet. But then on August 12th, we head to Richmond. After that, it's Michigan and then Daytona, which last season, if you remember, was the last race of the regular season. Not the case this season, though, as that will actually go to Darlington. And then Atlanta Motor Speedway opens up the round of 16, followed by Watkins Glen. Then it's Bristol, followed by Kansas on September 30th. So up front, still kind of a 3-way battle between 3 of the best cars all night in their respective different portions of the race. But further back, we're seeing the action pick up. Oh man, Brandon Saylor, big moment right there for the 24s. He got wicked loose off of turn 2. What a save though, as the 24 holds on, and he'll be able to continue with some momentum now, getting into turn 3. But wow, that was almost another caution here tonight if the 24 doesn't save that race car. Nicely done. But just a couple rows in front of him, they were getting a little eager, as I think Ryan Haynes is looking to see if he can sneak a pass around. As, by the way, Ryan Haynes, of course, one of our driver cams here tonight, as he sits in that 16th spot, down 5 from where he started. Another one of the BMP Racing drivers. By the way, the other thing they've got at Bushnell Motorsports Park, BMP, if you're curious, they actually have a sim rig there inside. And that thing is probably one of the top sim rigs you'll see around. I mean, we see some of the driver cams and some of the rigs these guys have, but that one is a full setup. You might as well be in the race car at that point. So if you're looking to also try out top-tier sim rigs, another thing you can find at Bushnell Motorsports Park. Again, sponsor of tonight's race and sponsor of the Rookie Challenge this season, in which the highest finishing rookie will be awarded, I believe it's $50. So I know that the FastTrack Sim Racing Cup Series certainly appreciates all they do and hopping on board this season. Here we go, another run to the inside for Ryan Haynes, and boy, he got quite a group to follow him here, as looks like the 39's get a big shove here from Jeffrey Souza. He'll be able to get that spot, and then it's the 35 of Brett Spod, the other BMP Racing teammate, as he tries to make a bounce back here tonight. And honestly, this is a good run for Brett Spod. This is what him and Ryan Haynes need, because the speed has been there. We've seen him last season, we've seen him this season, but just consistency, that's really been where it's lacked, especially for that 35 machine so far. And so for Brett, just slowly put these good runs together, and they will get better and better. Oh man, boy, Kenneth Bartholomew, I think he was ready to squeeze into that gap, but I don't think Brett Spod felt like there was a gap for the 73 to squeeze into there, as he tried to shut the door. The 73 tried to push it open, and that was another really close moment that could have ended badly. But another nice job by everybody to hold on to it, as this has now become our longest green flag run here of the night. Or at least is certainly trending that way, I guess I should say. And 52 of 80 complete. We are now at 29, going to be 28 laps to go when they cross the stripe next time around. By the way, top 3 can still throw all under a blanket, all within half a second of each other. But Jeff Marble did get around that 4 car finally. But then after these 3, Austin Fitzgerald in 4th. He's almost 2.5 seconds back from 3rd place. So again, still, these leaders are all, I guess, on rails in retrospect, but it's Tyler Marble who has found the lead, and he's going to see if he could maybe again capture another win here tonight. If you look at his wins on the season, he's already got that one that he was able to snag at Sonoma, and there's been a couple tracks where he arguably should have had his second, but things have just not quite worked out. But here tonight, certainly another great opportunity. And I think if you asked him right now, he would say, can we please not see a caution? I think he feels pretty good with what he is running at the moment. All right, back up, or excuse me, going back even further in the pack here. I wanted to stop for a moment on, go all the way back here. I was looking for Tracy Powers in the 25, who, again, had a great qualifying effort to start this race, but it seems like the 25 has just not really been able to make much forward progress, at least not in these long runs, if you will. He's had okay short run speed, but he's back to 20th, down 12 from where he started. Still in front of Brandon Saylor, Brian Conklin in 22nd. Kyle Oakley back in 23rd. Thomas O'Hara, who was kind of near the back end of that playoff picture, back in 25th, and that's not the way he wanted his run to go here tonight. And then Matthew Gearinger, back in 26th. Andrew Russo, 27th. Glenn Grigsby, 28th. Bill Benedict, 29th. And Johnny Mahalchuk, still the last car on the lead lap, as he currently sits back in that 30th position. Tyler Marble continues to lead the way. This is the point where tire wear starts to become so much of a factor that you lose enough in the corners to where you really can't gain it back on the straights, even with as much draft as you're getting. But what I will say is Jeff Marble looks pretty comfortable, all things considered, through the corner here. And so you wonder if he's either saving a little bit or if he'll slowly but surely try to track down his teammate. The problem is exit. Car looks really good through the corner, rotates very well, but then the trade-off is as he tries to get back on the gas on exit, that thing is not handling very well. The back end just wants to slide out, and it's a problem because that's where you really build up that momentum. So if he can't get that momentum down the straights, he's not going to have anything to actually kind of help track down this 48. But Scott Glasso is not going away. He's staying within proximity of these two so that if either one of them slips up, ideally the 15 in this case, he's going to be there to pounce. Two Mustangs and a Chevy make up your top three. Fitzgerald's still in fourth. But now Fitzgerald is broken away from that second group. He's on a bit of an island by himself. He's not in drafting range with that lead pack yet. That's part of the issue for him. But you wonder, did he save enough tire, or does he have a fast enough long run setup to where maybe he starts getting up there and starts tracking these guys down a little bit? Not sure if that's exactly how it's going to pan out, but GT Hawkins and Alan Pajari, they're doing a lot of tandeming together here with the draft, but they still can't seem to catch up to that 74 machine. Jared Bundy, Wes Hurd Jr., and Michael Mueller and Jacob Musso all in a group together. Jeff Shutt, Taio Polito, and Ryan Haynes all on islands by themselves. And then Jake Hickson leading what looks to be the final group and potentially the biggest one on the track as it stands right now. And then Johnny Mahalchuk, again, on an island by himself as he is continuing to hope that we can see a caution. That would be his best hope, but I don't even know. I said Tyler doesn't want to see a caution. I don't know if Jeff or Scott want to see a caution because this is great runs for both of those two drivers who need it. When you look at the playoff picture, well, I guess Jeff Marble doesn't, but Scott Glasso certainly does. And so Team Marble iRacing would like to bring home a win in a 1-2, but Scott Glasso is looking for either good points or something to seal the deal, which would be a win. 24 laps to go. Again, I just don't know if he's got it with what it is right now, but if we get a caution to rack things up, maybe that would actually play in the favor of the 4. So we'll see how things pan out. But by the way, track temp since the start of this race has risen by about 4 degrees, even though that cloud cover continues to be imminent. So that means that these cars are going to handle maybe slightly worse than they did earlier on, especially at the start with that 101 track temp, but it shouldn't be anything necessarily noticeably different, just little minute things like maybe those rear tires are getting worn out a little, or rather all 4 tires are getting a little bit more worn out than they would be. But Tyler Marble continues to lead laps here as we continue to slowly but surely approach the final quarter of this race. And there's the view of the gearbox looking back. Notice how he's not swerving up and down on the straightaways anymore. It's because he doesn't need to. He's got himself up to enough of a lead at somewhere between 0.3 and half a second that all he's got to worry about is executing through the turns. And at least so far, Jeff Marble has not had enough to catch up. And you're seeing Jeff run a little bit of a peculiar line. At least that time he did. And I'm not sure if that's him just necessarily making a mistake or if he's trying to adjust his car a little bit based off the way maybe that handling is changing a little bit here. As he gets to the 3, let's see if he adjusts. Yeah, see, he can't quite get all the way down to that white line anymore, as you saw the 48 of Tyler Marble doing and the 4 of Scott Glasso doing here. And so I wonder if that's a sign, like I said, of struggle or just changing handling here for the 15. But he's still holding on to second, and again, still within half a second of your two leaders. Fitzgerald has closed it up a little bit, by the way. He's got it down about 0.3 of a second from when we last checked. He's under 2.5, currently at about 2.4. He's got to get probably about another second trimmed off of that distance before he's going to be within drafting range. And, oh, just as I say it, looks like he did clip the outside wall right there. Not sure how much, if any, damage he got, but it's good. Yeah, he got a little bit of a scuff there on the right rear. I don't think that's going to quite hinder his chances here, but certainly going to set back in terms of the time he made up. Is lost about a tenth and a half there. Guess no harm, no foul for Fitzgerald, but 22 laps to go. We are going to go ahead and take another break, but again, we'll go side by side so you don't miss a thing. Stick with us. We'll be right back at Indy. Welcome back to Indianapolis Motor Speedway, the FastTrack Sim Racing Cup Series. Now in the final quarter of the BMP Brickyard 200 here tonight, and pit stops and fuel continue to become a bigger and bigger question here based off when we last went green. It was 36 laps complete, I believe. Somewhere in that margin. Oh, well, that's going to answer this question, at least for some of the drivers. Fitzgerald's going to be the first one to lead him down. Look at this. So I think that means that everybody is going to have to make a pit stop. As Fitzgerald, though, is going to be the first one to come in. Looks like Alan Pajari in, as well as is GT Hawkins in the 27 of Jeff Shutt. Now, these guys coming in a little bit earlier is certainly a good strategy call, I think. I mean, you got to try something, especially if you're Austin Fitzgerald in this case. I mean, if you get the lead here, hey, you may have a chance to hold on to it. We'll see how much time new tires makes, but Fitzgerald, does he take 4? Yes, he does. All right, so it looks like everybody is going to take 4. No 2-tire stops. They'll fill it up with gas and be good to go for the rest of the way. Now, you know, initially we thought it'd be close, but like I said, with these guys having to pit, that tells me there's no way anybody else can make it in. The pit road here, it's a little bit tricky, but you shouldn't lose a lap as, oh, Jeff Marble, big lockup, but he's able to just sneak inside the commitment cone at the last second. Wow, what a job by Jeff, as that was a huge lockup right there. I was getting ready to say, this pit road is, it's kind of, what do we want to call it here? tricky or kind of deceiving, if you will, because it's a straight-on approach, right? Nothing difficult about that. The problem is it comes up quick, and you are carrying a ton of speed off of turn 4. That's what you just saw there with Jeff Marble. Is you think, okay, straight-on approach, I can get on the brakes here pretty late, but you know, you're on old tires. As soon as you lock up, the car wants to slide, and it doesn't want to slow down nearly as much. So you got to be careful as a driver, and if you do lock up, you got to remember to try to pump the brakes a little bit so that you can get those tires rolling and get that car to slow down a little bit more effectively. But Glasso, look at this. Bold strategy call, but the 4 is going to beat both Team Marble iRacing drivers out of the pits. And you ask yourself, how'd he do it? He chose to take 2 tires. Wow. This is going to get interesting. This could be the call of the race. The only problem is I just think there's too many laps left for that strategy to work out too well. But you never know. We'll see. Quentin Clark in the pits. A little bit of left front damage there. I'm not sure if he maybe clipped the wall getting in. Looks like behind him, Jacob Musso, Jared Bundy, Jeffrey Souza, and Kyle Oakley all going to make their stops here as well. So as they all do so, we continue to cycle through pit stops. Still got a couple drivers that have not pit yet. Ty Iopolito, Tracy Powers, Kenneth Bartholomew, Jay Kickson, Thomas O'Hara, Cody Matthews, Bill Benedict. All have not made a stop yet. Neither is Glenn Grigsby or Johnny Mahalchek. And so once they come out, the battle, at least for now, is going to be between Scott Glasso, Jeff Marble, and Tyler Marble. And then Austin Fitzgerald as well, because the 74 is still fighting here. He's trying to see if he can get around the 48. Oh, almost gets into him. Now he does get into him. Pushing Tyler Marble up the racetrack. Tyler right now is probably saying, what are we doing here, man? Come on. But the 74 is racing him hard. He feels like he needs this spot here. And, man, very, very aggressive that time through turn 2. Fitzgerald is going to hold the side draft on him down the back stretch, and they will stay 2x2 into turn number 3. And, oh, man, these two, when you start to get to racing this hard, this is where something happens. And these two, I think, at this point are starting to get more frustrated than anything else. As Tyler's trying to let him go and look for a crossover here, but he can't do it. And you see the driver cam there for Tyler Marble. It's going to be frustration. You can't blame him there because he feels like, obviously, he's a little bit faster than Austin Fitzgerald, but Fitzgerald, this late in the race, is going to be racing as hard as he can. And so now the question is, can Tyler Marble respond? Maybe find a way to get around this 74. Nothing doing yet, but he's going to continue to work. See what happens here. And we're keeping an eye on this battle because right now, Scott Glasso, they're not too close to each other. Oh, man, speaking of close, whew, boy, those two just about door to door. And again, Tyler not quite able to make the move work. And now Fitzgerald looking to do a little bit of blocking on the inside into turn number 3. Tyler looking for yet another crossover, but Fitzgerald able to take away the air from the nose of that 48 car. Tyler continues to slip back right here. He's got another run here. We'll see if he tries it again. The problem right now is that unless that 15 jumps low down the straightaway too, when the 15 makes, or when the 48 makes the move, Fitzgerald will have the draft. So even if Tyler jumps out, it's like Pocono last week, except this time it's not necessarily teammates for the 74, but where every time Tyler made a move, even though he's faster, he just couldn't get around because the 74 had a draft down these long straights. That's exactly what we're seeing so far here tonight. As Tyler Marble continues to try to find a way around Austin Fitzgerald here with 14, actually make it 13 and a half laps to go. Now I want to keep an eye on this battle because you can certainly kind of feel the tension between these two. They always race each other aggressive, but certainly two of the cleaner drivers in the series. Scott Glasso right now, boy, he has proven me wrong in all sorts of ways. This strategy is looking like the winning one with just the right side call for now. He sits in 4th, but remember, as this thing cycles out, he'll be your leader. And the gap between him and Jeff Marble is about 2.28 seconds. Question is that gap enough to hold for the next 13 laps? Now, if Jeff gets there, getting there and passing him, two very different things here is Tyler Marble continues to try to fill up the mirror here of Fitzgerald. Hop back to the onboard view. In fact, we'll go to the gearbox here for Austin Fitzgerald and show you what it looks like from Austin's view. As, oh, caution is out. And, oh, boy, that's going to change some things around here. And it looks like the 08 of Danny Gutierrez has spun down the short chute of 1 and 2 as he's now on the road course section. And I wonder if he's just going to... Nope, I thought he was going to park it for a moment, but he will merge back onto the racetrack. And so, I don't see... Looks like Michael Mueller may have been the other car involved in this. Ooh, yeah. It's got some pretty significant damage. Almost looks like that car might be crab walking a little bit here down the straight. Yeah, it is. And so that sort of damage for Michael Mueller is going to most likely be race ending. Show what I'm talking about. Yeah, slightly crab walking where that car is kind of skewed a little bit to the, I guess that'd be skewed slightly to the left. And so that is not what Michael Mueller needed after another car that seemed like had decent speed at the start of tonight. And yet the race is not going to end the way that obviously he would have liked it to. But let's see what happens here. We'll go to the chopper view first. This is coming off of turn number 2. Mueller was on the outside of Jeff Shutt. Now Jeff Shutt's going to make the move getting into the corner right here. Jeff starts sliding up a little bit, but it's hard to see if there was actual full-on contact there or if it was just maybe a little bit of netcode. Yeah, Jeff definitely slides up a little bit here, but it's not much, and maybe there was a little bit of netcode, but whatever it is, the 99, if he just gets tight, I'm just not sure, but he gets up the racetrack here, and now he's too high, and I talked about where he hits right there. If he washes up the amount he did there, maybe, I don't know, 50 feet later, he doesn't hit the wall because it's not a safer barrier there, and he has that extra foot or two that he needs. But instead, where he washes up, it's a little bit too early on the exit, and there's still a safer barrier there, and he hits it. And once he hits it, guess what it does here? It's going to bounce him off of it, and Jeff Shutt was right there, and so kind of he bounces into Jeff Shutt a little bit. Neither driver really anything they could do there when you're racing that tight off of a turn, and then Shutt's going to get kind of pinched into the inside wall here once they've already both lost control. And so that explains the damage for the 99. Not so much the 27, and then I'm still not exactly sure what sent Danny Gutierrez around right here, as at least from everything I could see there, I thought the 8 would have snuck by, but here we go. Let's watch it from a different angle. Boom, there's the contact. Oh, the 08 missed it initially, but the problem was he overcorrected. Or, well, actually, he may have even tagged the back of one of these two. Yeah, he did. That's how he got that front end damage right there. Just tags the back of Jeff Shutt and then overcorrects. Boom. Tank slapper with the right side of the wall. And then, man, Taio Polito. Talk about a close call for him. Just barely able to miss that one right at the last second. So it looks like Michael Mueller is still currently sitting in the pits. By the way, give you another angle of this. And then from the spectator view here, well, we sped that up a little bit more than we wanted to, but that really gives you kind of a, I like that angle. This gives you a pretty good perspective of when these cars get out of the groove, how abrupt that wall comes up. And watch this. Right at the last second, it'll switch frames here. Boom, hits the wall. And, I mean, you can see it from that angle that once he hits and bounces off, you're headed straight for that inside wall. There's just nowhere to go. And Jeff Shutt, another tough break. Seems like that's kind of been the narrative for the 27 quite a bit, at least as of recent. But we go back live now and turn our attention to a late race restart. And right now you got the 4 of Scott Glasso in the lead, and I'm telling you, he did not want to see that caution, because I think he had this race won off a strategy call that I don't know if anybody saw being the strategy or the race winning strategy call. But now with the tire disadvantage and everybody this close together, I don't know how well things are going to fare for this 4 car. We'll have to find out. Jeff Marble in second, Austin Fitzgerald in third. You've got Tyler Marble back in fourth, GT Hawkins, Alan Pajari back in row 3, Danny Gutierrez, Jeff Shutt row 4, and Jacob Musso with Taio Polito rounding out row number 5. By the way, that 74 and the 48 starting next to each other. I think there was maybe some hard feelings, if you will, built up right there between that sequence of racing between those two. I know they were both going for it, but I have a feeling Tyler's probably not too happy with the 74 as he felt like he was faster, and then the 74 may have not been too happy with the 48 not being happy with him. So we'll see if these two decide to race each other a little bit more aggressive, but boy, I'm excited. I know we may not have saw as much passing tonight as we do at a lot of tracks, but I think if we're going to see some, we're getting ready to see it right here, because this is by far going to be the most aggressive restart of the night, because it could potentially be the final one. Looking at tire sets, I don't know if anybody's got one left. Even if you do, I just don't know if you would be able to go in at this point to give it up for how important track position is. I mean, even if you felt like tires were that big of a difference. So Scott Glasso, I mean, his bed's been made, and we'll have to see how things pan out for him right here. You know, Jeff Marble is looking for that win. Tyler in the same boat. Fitzgerald would like to continue the hot streak, make it 8 here tonight. Everybody's still got a great chance to do it. Question is, who is going to win at the Brickyard? Here we go. As they work their way back into the Geico restart zone, green flag is in the air. 9 laps to go in Indy. Looks like a pretty good restart initially here. Can they all get it sorted out into turn 1? Yes, they do, and it was a phenomenal restart for Scott Glasso, thanks to the assist from Austin Fitzgerald, who pushed him clear into turn number 1. Time to find out just how much better 4 tires is compared to 2 tires. Fitzgerald, remember, also took 4, and now it's a question of how much short run speed does he have. Team Marble iRacing lined up as the second and third car on the outside, and that's going to just about push Jeff Marble clear. He's trying to get there. Yes, he does. Tyler not going to be able to follow, at least not yet, as Fitzgerald remains on the inside. 74 still not giving that 48 much elbow room right now. And that's how tight it is here. I mean, if you're Tyler, you got to hug him down. If you're Fitzgerald, you got to try to push him up a little bit. GT Hawkins, though, who does he go with right here? Looks like the 5 is going to choose to go with that inside line, the 74 of Austin Fitzgerald. That'll keep these two stalled out side by side, and right now it's a question of, can Jeff Marble go up there and try to catch him? Fitzgerald got in really deep right there, cost him a little bit down the short chute. Is that what Tyler needed? Still not quite enough yet for the 48. Well, I'll tell you what, I said how tough it was to go side by side earlier. These two are the only 2 cars that we've seen in the field that have been able to go side by side this long, this many laps. And the rookie Hawkins continues to show his support for Fitzgerald as he gives him another shot just before they get into turn 3. Oh, down to the 74 and the 48. Banged doors a little bit. Scott Glasso continues to pull away. He loves seeing this battling out back. Jeff Marble doesn't have to battle anyone yet, but these two continue to door it out. Oh, now Fitzgerald is going to get a little bit more contact between him. Oh, they're wrecking out back. Oh, huge hit into the inside wall for Kyle Oakley. More contact for Gearinger. Somehow, no caution. We stay green right now. Kyle Oakley's car is destroyed. Matthew Gearinger's car is destroyed. We've got a bumper sitting on the front stretch. Oakley is going to have to pull into the pits here. That's going to be his night over with. Let's go back and look at this here. Since it didn't bring out the caution, we're going to have to get back up front pretty quick. But, well, what happens here? It's just 3 wide chaos in the back, and I think Oakley's going to get kind of ran out of room here. Yeah, he does. And then at that point, once he hits the wall, he's headed down the racetrack with not really anywhere to go. Gets into Johnny Mahalchek. And then Quentin Clark gets turned around. The 72, the 00, they get into the outside wall. And then Kyle Oakley's going to get turned almost dead right. Bill Benedict, pretty heavy hit. And then right there's the big shot for Kyle Oakley as he almost hit that pit separation wall. And then Matthew Gearinger, or excuse me, that wasn't Gearinger that took the hit. That was Mark Sabak, the Canadian driver here. He sees this, tries to dive low, has to make an evasive maneuver, and then bam! That's a big hit for the 9 car. And so, yeah, that's going to destroy a couple of race cars as Sabak will now bring it into the pits. And, well, guess now caution is out. Not sure what the caution was for here, though. Oh, Ryan Haynes. That's your answer. The 39, trouble here. Don't see, or guess I should say we don't have any data yet on anybody else involved, but looked like maybe the left front had a little bit of damage here for Ryan Haynes. That's all I could see for now. But it certainly doesn't seem like the car is beat up too bad. I think he'll be able to continue on in this race. Let's go to the yellow. Let's go back to the replay here of when this yellow flag occurred. And again, as surprising as it wasn't for that big wreck that we saw with about 3 or 4 cars, because how it worked out is they all scattered off the racetrack or got straightened out. But oh, Haynes got turned out of line right there. And when he did, he had, of course, nowhere to go as he hit that inside wall pretty hard. That's what brought out the caution. Let's see, does he run out of room here? Does he get some help? Danny Gutierrez running on his inside. Full speed. He got some help, that's for sure. That's tight racing, but, you know, Danny's trying to side draft really, really aggressive here. And, I mean, Ryan's as high as he can go. And Ryan, from that view, from everything I can see, Ryan's holding his line. He can't go any higher. He's got the car about as straight as an arrow, and I think Danny just gets a little too aggressive here with the side draft as You know, maybe he was trying to tuck in line behind, but I don't think so. I think he, like I said, he was trying to get that side draft, but just got a little bit too close and caught Ryan in that left rear. And once he did, Ryan Haynes, like I said, once he gets turned there, there's nowhere to go. That inside wall is, I mean, it's not very wide here on the front stretch, and that's a hard hit to the back of the car. And the bad luck streak continues for BMP Racing in this 39 team of Ryan Haynes. As what was looking like a pretty decent run getting put together, looking for a solid finish. There's going to be no more after that, and he still sits in the pits right now trying to repair as much damage as he can get. But Scott Glasso, I mean, he just continues to amaze. 2 tires, and he is still fending off 4 tires of Jeff Marble, Austin Fitzgerald, and Tyler Marble. I mean, I don't know how he continues to do it, but he does, and it's working out really, really good for him here. And this restart's going to only be, looks like, with 3 laps to go. So at this point, you know, if you're Scott Glasso, you're going to be feeling pretty good about your chances here to potentially find victory lane for the first time here this season. So let's bring him up here and see how he's feeling right about now. Well, unfortunately, it looks like we are not going to be able to find Scott. I don't currently see him sitting in any of the Discord channels, so we'll have a chance to talk to him right now. So with that, we're going to go ahead and take what should hopefully be our final break here of the night. Again, we'll go side by side so you don't miss anything, but we will be back for the restart. So stick with us here at Indy. All right, here we go. 3-lap shootout to decide the winner at the Brickyard. Back into the restart zone. Green flag is back in the air at Indy. It's a good restart for Scott Glasso. This time, Jeff Marble's going to match him a little bit better, but Fitzgerald continues the pushing, and he'll get the 4. Almost clear, but not enough, and now that gives Jeff Marble a chance to hang even on the outside. Man, Jeff knows he needs to get this clean air, but Scott Glasso doesn't want to give it up easy, but now he slips up. 3 wide. Jeff Marble makes a mistake. Austin Fitzgerald will get clear of both of them now. Tyler Marble's looking 4 wide down the back. Nothing there. Now he's going to split back to the middle. Fitzgerald couldn't cover that one. That's going to make a very shallow entry for this 74. He's got to work a little bit of room. Oh, Pajari in the grass. He's going to get up into Glasso. He gets into the 5. 2 of them trying to save it back into traffic. Huge hit for the 4. They're wrecking, and that is going to be another caution, and we are headed into overtime. Scott Glasso so close to grabbing his first win of the season. 3 laps away. Made it through a green flag pit stop strategy. Made it through a late race restart. But unfortunately doesn't quite make it through the second one. And that car, yeah, that thing is toast. You can see the left front isn't even rolling. So, I mean, he's not even going to have... I don't even know if he can continue this race, much less obviously be competitive. But it's these late race restarts. Again, you know, I said earlier, passing is hard to do here. Well, when all bets are off and everybody's going for the win, surely is not. That's what we saw right here. But this is all going to start with the 34 Pajari. But first of all, can we back this up and denote, I mean, what a move from Austin Fitzgerald and then even Tyler Marble here. Watch the move these two make. First of all, it's a 74. He sees the 4 slip up. He takes advantage of the 15 being stuck on the outside, goes low, almost gets clear of both of them. And then Tyler, he smells blood in the water here. He's got to run. He wants it. And he's looking around for what the open lane is, goes to the middle, makes him 3 wide. And now Fitzgerald, I think, was like, listen, I need some room here if I'm going to make this turn. Otherwise, we're going to wreck. So he bumps the 48 up to track a little bit, but they keep it clean there. The problem comes right back here. Watch the 34. He's that red and white car just in front of the USA colored car. I guess that's probably about 5 cars back. And as I think Pajari starts going down, and I mean, it's close, but I mean, Musso's there, and it's this late in the race. You know, nobody's going to lift if they feel like they're there, and I think that's just Pajari trying to turn in a little bit earlier than the 95 was going to turn in, and as a result, Pajari's going to get sent through the grass here, and he's not going to be able to slow down, so he gets up into the 4 of Glasso. And initially, you know, I think that if GT Hawkins isn't there, maybe they save this and we stay green. I mean, you see Pajari's able to save it, but as Glasso gets up into Hawkins, that sends GT around, and then even the 4 gets around. But GT gets up into the wall, whereas Scott Glasso gets back down the racetrack, and he's going to get into a couple here, and it's a big hit for the 4, big hit for the 37 as well. Jeffrey Souza, does he go up into the outside wall here? Yes, he does. He's going to make some right front contact. But it was definitely Scott Glasso who got the worst of it. Talk about a chaotic sequence of events here. He never even saw this coming. Watch this. Gets door, tries to save it, but there's nothing he can do at that point. And then after that hit right there, that was pretty much all she wrote. Get a couple more angles of this here from the TV static cam and then the TV spectator stand. Right there, second hit's really the one that ultimately did it. And, you know, it's just, again, I'd say it's hard racing. Alan Pajari, that's just tough racing between him and Jacob Musso. Nothing intentional there, but, I mean, if you want to talk about tough racing, I'm not saying a rivalry as a mean way, but well, what we're seeing right now between Tyler Marble and Austin Fitzgerald, you can tell those two are racing each other a little bit harder than they're racing anybody else in the field right now. And they continue to get a little bit more physical with each other each and every time they make contact. So let's see how both parties are feeling about it right now. Hey, Austin, this is Austin up in the booth. You got a copy?
Hey, I do.
Well, we're getting ready for a late race restart, actually overtime number 1. And boy, things are getting crazy here at the end, but I mean, the last quarter of this race, we just continue to see the aggression level between you and Tyler Marble ramping up, and I'm sure the people watching at home are curious, but what's going on between you two? Is it a little bit of a heated race, or is it just hard racing going on?
I mean, yeah, a little bit of both. You know, he's not really giving me an inch. I'm not giving him an inch. You know, he comes down into me. I go up into him. Yeah, it's just hard racing. Good fun, hard racing. I kind of wish we didn't get that caution there. It'd have been cool to see what would have came of that, you know, 3 wide there. But unfortunately, I had a nose ahead of him and Jeff. And yeah, we'll see what we could do on the restart here.
Starting on the front row, how hard is it to play defense here?
pretty hard with the draft, honestly. And then I got 2 teammates, you know, second and third. But then again, I got Alan, my teammate, in fourth. So, but he's in another lane. So, yeah, we'll just have to see. There's gonna be a lot of blocking going on. Hopefully, nobody hooks anybody, you know. But yeah, I imagine these last stops are gonna be pretty crazy.
We'll see what happens. Thanks for talking to us, Austin. Good luck the rest of the way.
Thank you.
All right, and we'll see if we can get a quick word with Tyler here. Hey, Tyler, this is Austin up in the booth. Got a copy?
Yep.
We're getting ready to go back green. You and Austin Fitzgerald lined up behind each other. We're seeing some aggression. Is it just hard racing, or are you guys a little bit heated between each other right now?
Hard racing. At least on my end, I feel it's hard racing. It's the trap that's in track position. It's so, you know, important. And yeah, try to stay ahead of them there. And lost the battle here, but we got a chance here. Just gotta be smart here and hopefully execute well.
Well, you're starting in a great spot. We'll see what happens here. See if you can find victory at the Brickyard here tonight.
Yes, sir.
All right, there you go. And hey, that answers the question. Hard racing on both ends. So, you know, what we see up here is maybe a slight feud. That's just these guys kind of, I think it's a respect level. Both of them kind of saying, you know, I'm not going to be pushed around. And boy, it makes for good broadcasting up here. Here we go. By the way, quick reminder of the rules of overtime. Got to make it to the white flag for this race to be official. If not, we will rack them up and try it again. Well, we went 200 miles, but now we're going to go a couple more to decide the winner at the Brickyard. Green flag is back in the air, and it's another good restart for the inside, but not so much for Tyler Marble. Instead, it's Austin Fitzgerald who's going to scoot away with the lead. Down into turn 1. Jeff Marble trying to stay on his outside. Tyler needs to slot in line here as soon as he can. Jeff was able to stay on the outside of Austin through 1 and 2. Going to be a little bit tougher here, or excuse me, through 1. Going to be a little tougher here in 2. Not able to do it, but that sets Tyler Marble up with a great run. Fitzgerald looking for a block. He's going to take him all the way to the grass. Now Tyler Marble goes back to the middle. Can Fitzgerald get clear back up? Looks like Jeff Marble's looking for maybe another move. Tyler has the outside getting into turn number 3. Everything out back clean so far. We're trying to keep an eye on what we can, but all eyes are still up front as Tyler has to slot back in line, but he'll have one more shot at it here if we can make it to the white flag. Oh, Danny Gutierrez around out back, hits the wall. Will he stay off track long enough? White flag in the air. Yes, he will. 1 lap to go at the Brickyard. Tyler Marble, is he going to dive it in deep in 1? Does he play all his cards here? Yes, he does. Fitzgerald gives him the lane, though. 48 now on the preferred line. Fitzgerald's going to have to keep it on his door here through turn 2. What does the 74 have? The 15. You know he's going to stick with his teammate. Final time down the back. Tyler Marble snaking the draft as much as he can right here. Doesn't want that 74 to have any other shot at him. 1 more set of corners to go for Tyler Marble. Through 3, gets clean. Can Fitzgerald set up one more run through 4? Doesn't look like he's going to have enough. Tyler all the way down to the apron. The 74 doesn't hit the apex. That'll do it. Tyler Marble gets through clean, breaks the draft down the front. Here he comes through the yard of bricks. Tyler Marble is going to get his 2nd win of the season, and it comes in Indianapolis. You see the reaction. He's excited about All right, sorry about that. Looks like we had the, I think my internet or something had to have dropped right as the race ended. So I know we captured the end, but that is why, unfortunately, things froze after that. So not going to get to quite see the celebration for Tyler Marble. You see him burning it down, but that does kick me out of the session, unfortunately. So not going to get to actually, like I said, see the celebration in of itself. But nonetheless, like I said, you know he is going to be very, very excited right now, as he should be. What a win that was for Tyler Marble. Taking a look at your results here tonight. Tyler Marble is your race winner at the Brickyard. Jeff Marble finishes in 2nd. Austin Fitzgerald back in 3rd, with Alan Pajari in 4th. Jacob Musso 5th. Tai Iopolito in 6th. Brandon Saylor 7th. Brett Spott in 8th. Jake Hickson in 9th. And Wes Hurd Jr. rounding out your top 10. Jeffrey Souza back in 11th with Andrew Russo in 12th. Jeff Shutt 13th. Quentin Clark in 14th. Cody Matthews 15th with Thomas O'Hara in 16th. Kenneth Bartholomew in 17th, with Matthew Geiringer finishing back in that 18th position here tonight. And rounding out your top 20 is Glenn Grigsby and Bill Benedict. Ryan Haynes finishes 21st, Tracy Powers 22nd, Danny Gutierrez 23rd, Johnny McCulchuk 24th, Jared Bundy 25th with Kyle Oakley in 26th, GT Hawkins 27th, Scott Glasso in 28th, Brian Conklin 29th, and Michael Mueller rounding out your top 30. Mark Zabak finishes 31st, Todd Shiro 32nd, Rachel Hunt 33rd, and Greg Bartlett rounds out the field tonight. He finishes in 34th. All right, we're going to go get your top 3 in here for interviews. Stick with us. We'll be right back at Indy. All right, going to start first here tonight with your third place finisher, Austin Fitzgerald. Austin, this is Austin in the booth. You got a copy?
Hey, Austin, I got you.
Well, man, you stay on the podium, but not quite able to hold on to the lead for those last 2 laps. Looked like you started sliding a little bit up the corners. Did the handling just fall off, or break us down what happened there in those last couple laps?
No, I felt really good coming to the white right there. I had gapped Tyler a little bit, and then going into turn 1, I just didn't want to overdrive it, try to back up my entry and get a good exit off. And he just sent it on the low side. And I didn't think I left him a lane there, but I clearly did. So, yeah, I really screwed that up. And then for the remainder of the last lap, I was just overdriving it, trying to get back to him, you know. And then that last corner, I was just giving it all my all, you know, and I got tight onto the wall, and Jeff passed me. But yeah, it's just because I left the door open. And yeah, I should have had that one and made a mistake there.
Well, nonetheless, you still bring home the podium finish. It continues the streak of podiums. I know it wasn't a win, but I mean, still, you continue to bring this momentum week in and week out. And this was a track that last week you said you didn't necessarily feel great about. And it seemed like you just continued to get better and better as the race went on. Was that a product of adjustments you made in the pits, or just kind of figuring out the track as you went through the race?
Well, the first stop, we all stopped with just 10 laps on the tires, and I took 2 and jumped from it was like 12th all the way up to, I think, 4th, but with the newest tires up there, because the other guys, they didn't take tires. And then it ended up being a net gain just taking the 2 tires, because I think I only lost like 2 positions after that. And so I was able just to stay up there the rest of the race. Because, it was just a track position race, and, I screwed up qualifying, and because of that, I was kind of forced to take the 2 tires, but that paid off, and I was able to stay up there the rest of the race. And it's a good hard battle with Tyler there. It'll be interesting to go back and watch that. There's a couple times I was tempted to block him a few times down the front stretch, but I'd never wanted, or down the back stretch that is, but I never wanted to block more than once. And but yeah, it all came down to that last lap, and just made a mistake. But hey, I'm glad to take home a third. I think the whole Dynamic Autosports team, I think we all came in the top 10. So good team effort for sure.
Indeed. Well, to round out a good finish here tonight, is there anyone you'd like to thank or shout out?
Shout out to my daughter, Indy, after the Indy 500. Actually, she's not named after the Indy 500, but for today, I'll say she is. And yeah, thank you for the broadcast. Thank you to Dynamic Autosports and Acoustic Design Systems.
Thank you for talking to us. Congrats on that third place finish. We'll see you next week.
See ya.
I said we'll see him next week. I guess it'll actually be the week after, as next week is indeed an off week. But nonetheless, that now brings us to your second place finisher here tonight, Jeff Marble. Jeff, this is Austin in the booth. You got a copy?
Yes, sir, Mr. Austin. How are you?
Good. Well, man, you had a couple different shots at it here tonight. Looked like at the start of the race you were the fastest car. Late in the going, we have some late race restarts. It's tough to pass here, but you still found a way to do it to get up to second. Break us down. What was going through your head the last couple laps there, and was there anything you think you could have done different in those last couple restarts?
Oh, before I get to that, I briefly just want to go back to the beginning of the race real quick. I won't go on too long about it, but pulled another pull out of my rear end because I know how important track position is here. So like you said, I was able to have all that clean air in the beginning of the race, and then we had a pit stop, overshot the stall. So not only did that slow me down on not only did I lose spots there, people took no tires, just fuel only, 2 tires. So it was like a double whammy punch to the face right there. So right back into the dirty air. But to answer your question, the last 2 restarts, I overblew turn 1 both times and just basically took myself out of any kind of contention to easily have a chance. And then on the last restart of the race, I missed a gear. I was still stuck in third. Luckily, I was still on Austin's quarter panel, and the able stay to his right. But after the short shoot, I had missed that corner too. So I think that might have helped Tyler, because with me missing that corner, it gave Austin and Tyler enough room to battle it out there, and I was just along for the ride. And then Austin hit the wall coming to the checker, and I was able to sneak out P2.
Well, a good finish just before we head into the off week. And, is it kind of a good chance to take some momentum and kind of reset and get ready for these next handful of races or so before we get to the playoffs?
Yeah, as a team, we've been running better. Tyler probably should have won Pocono last week. Got bit by the old two-tire strategy with teammates. It is what it is. It also the people trying to two tires again tonight. I recently really fixed the tire model, but that's a different story for a different day. But we're starting to run up front. We're starting to qualify better. We're getting to the playoffs. It's going to be hot and heavy here any day now. In the next couple weeks. So there's also a hell of a battle for the last playoff spot. Unfortunately, Brian got caught up in stuff tonight. Seems to be a magnet for that, and I think he was in, but now he might be on the outside looking in. But like I said, that battle for 16th is going to be crazy.
Yeah, it certainly is. Well, hey, before we let you head out here tonight to enjoy the off week, is there anyone you want to thank or shout out after that second place finish?
Of course, Alloy Wheel Repair Specialist out of Richmond, Virginia, Ghost Racing Network, you. And I appreciate you for the short notice I had given you about making this a Bushnell Motorsports Park race tonight. Quickly send you the commercials, and we just called an audible. We wanted to give these guys Indy because it's a very well-known racetrack, but I've been very busy. But we called an audible yesterday. We got it done. You got it done, and that's all I can ask. So also, Capital Auto Group, iRacingHighFlight.com, SimRacerHub.com, Butt Kicker, can't forget Butt Kicker. If I forgot anybody, I apologize. Again, thank you for doing what you do.
Thank you for talking to us. Well, hey, congrats on that second place finish, a 1-2 for Team Marble I Racing, and we will see you in a couple weeks.
All right, thank you.
All right, now that'll bring us to tonight's race winner, Tyler Marble. Tyler, this is all set up in the booth. You got a copy?
Yes, I do.
Well, you bring home a crown jewel win at the Yard of Bricks, and boy, first question is, it's got to feel a little bit sweeter, I would assume, after all the battling you and Fitzgerald had there towards the end. You prevailed. Break us down how you made it happen in those last two laps, especially that last lap.
Yeah, just I had to hit the restart, which I didn't hit the restart 100% the way I needed to. Luckily, I got it gathered back up before getting into turn one. I got a little push from Musso and drove it in the one because I know you can drive it a little bit harder in the bottom turn one of the restarts. So that's what I did, close the gap up. And then it's just hitting your marks, and then as soon as you get that car pointed straight and pointed enough, you get on the throttle and was able to get the runs. Was able to get cleared my dad on the 15, and it was about just centering him up there for the last lap, which I was able to. He blew the corner a little bit in turn one. I got underneath him and had to be aggressive on the throttle to try to get the run. Did, cleared him and prevailed. I almost blew it off before too, by the way, but I don't think it would have mattered. It looks like he hit the wall too. But yeah, fun stuff, and definitely feels sweet, especially after last week too. So yeah.
Well, we saw the reaction coming to the start-finish line, or the checkered flag, I guess I should say. But you already had a win this season at Sonoma. How much more does it mean when you win at one of these crown jewel racetracks like Indy?
Yeah, it means a lot. I mean, Indy, but it's definitely a big crown jewel. Everybody wants to win there. It's the most popular racetrack in the world. Last year, with all those cautions we had last year, I didn't feel it completely legitimate. So to win it tonight, I don't know, with some cautions at the end, but to win it straight up, I guess I feel it's nice. And it also helps get those playoff points.
Indeed. Well, before we let you head out to celebrate tonight in Victory Lane, is there anyone you'd like to thank or shout out?
Yeah, I thank BMP for sponsoring the race. They'll be on board for 4 more races this year. You for broadcasting, my teammates, everybody for coming out, everybody for just supporting the league. Sim Racer Hub, Butt Kicker, DA Designs, and Irish Eye Flag. And yeah, we're off for next week, and then we'll go to Chicago and try to keep the momentum up.
Sounds like a plan. Well, thank you for talking to us here tonight. And again, congrats on the win.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, that is just about going to wrap up coverage here tonight. But again, phenomenal race, and Tyler said it. It's just something about Indy, one of the most famous tracks in all of motorsports, and to get a win here is going to put you in, of course, a lot of the high name lists when you talk about talent among a lot of other things. And Tyler Marble secures his spot with the best of the best with his win here tonight at Indy. That's going to wrap it up. That's all for me, at least here, Austin Green on Ghost Racing Network. But as always, thank you all so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed. We won't be here next week, but join us the week after as we make a return to Chicagoland. Have a good night.